She lost her job for bringing her kid to work, but then this new boss arrived at 3 p.m. The fluorescent lights hummed, filling the air with an unsettling buzz as Jenna sat at her desk, heart pounding. She never thought it could happen to her, the dreaded pink slip. All because her toddler, Lucy, had an unexpected meltdown. Now, Jenna's eyes burned with tears she couldn't afford to shed. The hallway felt heavy with whispers, murmurs slicing through the air like sharp blades. Co-workers peeked, exchanged glances, and looked away, as if she carried a dark, contagious curse. It was supposed to be an ordinary day at the office. The clock ticked loudly, each second stretching out like a sigh of defeat. Then, at 3 p.m., the front door swung open with a force that caught everyone off guard. The unfamiliar figure stepped in, a tall silhouette that eclipsed the fluorescent light, a haunting contrast to the mundane surroundings. He was dressed impeccably in a charcoal suit, his sharp features shadowed by an unyielding aura of authority. Eyes widened. Whispers grew louder. Who is he? What is he here for? The questions buzzed like a swarm of angry bees. Jenna felt her heart skip, a jolt of apprehension electrified her. Why was he here? What was happening behind the scenes of this everyday office? And there it was, a moment that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. The new boss glanced around, his icy blue eyes stopping on Jenna. A shiver ran through her, the air thick with tension. The tension in the room was palpable, suffocating. I need to speak with you, he commanded, as if the rest of the office dissolved into an echoing void. Jenna's breath caught in her throat, the lump growing larger as she moved to follow him, her pulse racing with uncertainty. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Jenna stepped into the shadowed office, the door clicked shut behind her, isolating them from the buzzing surroundings. The air turned electric, charged with urgency. I understand you had an incident. His voice was cool, calculated, a predator sizing up his prey. But what if I told you we might have another way to secure your future here? Questions raced in her mind, a fleeting glimmer of hope intermingled with dread. What could this sudden twist mean for her? Would he give her a second chance, or had she just stepped into a trap where the stakes were far higher than just her job? She felt her knees tremble slightly, and the weight of desperation pressed down on her like a heavy blanket, yet curiosity clawed at her gut. Who was this man, really? And what did he want from her? The silence in the office was deafening, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them like a thick fog. Jenna's heart raced, hammering against her ribcage as she searched the man's face for any sign of what lay ahead. The cold glint in his eyes sent a wave of unease through her. You're not going to fire me, she croaked, more of an instinctive question than a statement, her voice trembling. He leaned in, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Not if you play your cards right. You see, Jenna, he paused, gauging her reaction, this company has a unique way of handling situations like yours. Jenna swallowed hard. Was there a threat buried in his words? What do you mean? What's unique about it? The anxiety twisted in her stomach like a coiled snake, ready to strike. His smile widened, but it felt more like a snare than a reassurance. We adapt. Adaptation is key in business. I can provide you with a role that aligns with your personal challenges. Personal challenges? She echoed, her brow furrowing. You mean, because I'm a mother? Precisely, he replied smoothly, his tone icy. And because of that, I propose you take on a different type of work. One that requires discretion. An opportunity, if you will. A chill trickled down Jenna's spine. What kind of work? The question slipped from her lips, though she dreaded the answer. The new boss crossed his arms, still smiling, but with a predatory gleam in his eye. You'd help me with certain sensitive information. This office has more than just reports and spreadsheets. There are secrets here, Jenna, that could coalesce into power. With your help, we could unleash something monumental. Her mind raced, thoughts colliding like trains in a wreck. What type of secrets? You're talking cryptic. This sounds dangerous. He stepped closer, an intensity growing in his gaze. Dangerous can be enlightening. Imagine turning your discomfort into something profound. You'd be surprised at how much one individual can change the landscape. The allure of something more, something that could define her career, flickered in her chest. But just as quickly, doubt rushed in. What if I refuse? Refusal isn't an option, he replied with an unsettling calmness. Not for someone in your position. He leaned back, assessing her as if she was a puzzle to be solved. I'm offering you a path to regain control over not only your career but also your life. Think about Lucy. The stakes are higher than you realize. The mention of her daughter sent a fresh wave of panic surging through her. Could she truly navigate this twisted offer? Or was it simply buying into a darker reality she couldn't escape? The tension crackled in the stillness, and for a moment, Jenna felt the walls of the office closing in. A choice loomed over her like a storm cloud threatening to unleash chaos. What if I do play along? He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. If you do, the power you wield may surprise you. The air thickened with unresolved tension, the implications swirling around as Jenna stood on the precipice of an impossible decision. As the shadows deepened, she felt the weight of her life pressing against her, and suddenly it became clear, this was about more than just her job. The real question now was how far she was willing to go to secure her future and the future of her child. Just then, the office door creaked slightly, and Jenna froze. Someone was listening. Her heart raced. Who was it? And what did they hear? Jenna's breath hitched. The creak of the door echoed in her mind like a gunshot, replaying over and over. Panic pressed her chest, and she glanced toward the entrance, the only barrier between her and potential exposure. Who's there? She demanded, her voice shaky yet loud, seeking to reclaim some control. Her boss remained stoic, eyes narrowed in a mix of amusement and curiosity. Someone curious, perhaps, he said, almost mockingly. Jenna shot him a glare, but his grin widened, reveling in the tension. Suddenly, the door swung open, revealing Mark, a junior analyst known for his timid demeanor. His eyes flickered between her and the boss, confusion etching his features. Sorry. I was just, getting a drink. What did you hear? Jenna snapped, tension coiling in her gut again. There was no way Mark could know the gravity of the conversation, but fear clawed at her throat. Nothing, I just get out, the boss interjected, his voice piercing through Mark's stammering like a knife. This isn't for your ears. Mark nodded, retreating in a hurry, leaving the door ajar. Jenna's heart raced. It was easier to feel the anxiety electrifying the air than the confusion that swirled in her mind. She turned her attention back to her boss, the uncertainty gnawing at her stomach. That wasn't necessary, she said, her voice firmer than before. You can't just treat people like that. Oh, Jenna, he chuckled darkly. You'll learn the hard way that power is all about perception. It's more than just a title, it's control. You could have some of that control if you play your cards right. Jenna clenched her fists. She didn't want this twisted game, but the thought of her daughter's future loomed large. The desperation to protect Lucy cranked the stakes higher. I need time, she finally said, trying to reason with the situation. Time is an illusion, he replied, leaning against the desk with a seemingly casual air that belied the intensity of their interaction. You either seize the opportunity now or watch it slip through your fingers. What is it going to be? Her mind raced. Could she afford to step further into this darkness? Or was she already too deep? She glanced at her boss, trying to unlock whatever hidden agenda lurked behind those cold eyes. A heavy silence fell between them, the only sound being the faint ticking of the clock on the wall, each tick a reminder of the diminishing time she had. She couldn't let fear paralyze her. Okay, Jenna said, desperation turning her voice brittle. Tell me what you need me to do. His smile returned, broader and filled with something Jenna couldn't quite place. That's the spirit. We'll start small. It's about building trust. You know about the quarterly reports we leaked to stockholders, right? Yes, she hesitated, the blood draining from her face. What about them? There's more to those reports than meets the eye. Information is power, Jenna, and I believe you'll be quite instrumental in gathering the specific details we need. But remember, discretion is key. You wouldn't want to end up like our last assistant. The mention of the last assistant sent an icy chill through her. She recalled how that woman had mysteriously vanished after raising questions. What happened to her? Jenna's voice dropped to a whisper, fear tightening her chest. That's the risk you take in this business. Trust is a game, but if you play it right well, you could achieve great things. The offer hung heavily in the air, and just as she was about to respond, the shrill buzz of her phone jolted her. The screen lit up with Lucy's name, the innocent notification a stark contrast to the darkness surrounding her. Her heart twisted painfully, torn between the duty of a mother and the terror of losing everything. I need to take this, but would that be her escape or a deeper descent into a web of uncertainty? Desperate to protect her daughter, Jenna realized this was more than just a job, it was a fight for survival. As she answered the call, the emotion poured through her, but the looming question remained: how deep was she willing to dive into this abyss? To save her child? Jenna's heart thundered as she answered the call. Lucy's sweet voice poured through the speaker, a soothing balm in the chaos. Mommy! Can you come home now? Jenna felt a sharp pang of guilt. I'm working, honey. Just a little longer, okay? Why do you have to work so much? It's boring at home. The sound of disappointment was palpable, and her chest clenched painfully. I know, sweetheart, but I'm doing it for you. I promise. The weight of her boss's presence lingered heavy behind her. Can you at least bring me a snack? Lucy asked, her voice now hopeful. Of course, I'll get you whatever you want, Jenna promised. But even as she said it, fear knotted in her stomach. She wasn't sure how she would get home after this encounter, let alone if she'd come home without some dark twist that awaited her. Oh, and Mommy? Miss Kathy said she'd help me with my math homework after school. Lucy chirped, clearly excited. The mention of Miss Kathy stung Jenna. She was a teacher who had often taken advantage of the school's leniency, a fact her boss would know well. That's great, sweetie. Just be good, okay? I love you. I love you too. The call ended, leaving Jenna even more twisted in her thoughts. She hung up slowly, dread making her hesitate to face her boss again. His eyes were still glued to her, calculating and predatory, like he had just caught a mouse in his trap. What a touching moment, he said, his voice smooth, almost syrupy. Are you going to play the doting mother card now? Jenna bristled. What do you want from me? It's not what I want, Jenna. It's what you'll do for yourself. You've got a choice, and I will make sure you understand the consequences of that choice very swiftly. His grin sent a chill through her bones. The air in the office turned electric. Each second stretched painfully as Jenna's mind swirled with all the horror stories she had heard of what happened to those who fell out of favor. What if Mark was just a pawn, too scared to see the risks? Fear seeped deeper into her veins. What more can you tell me about the reports? She asked, trying to seize control of the situation. Each word came slowly, deliberately, like a soldier navigating a minefield. You're stepping into a world of politics and power plays, Jenna. The reports are your entry point, but that's just the beginning. We need to discover which of these so-called allies are actually saboteurs. Jenna felt her pulse racing, the stakes were rising. And if I don't? Then I ensure you take a step back. A permanent step, if you catch my drift, he replied, his eyes narrowing, the flicker of malice unmistakable. The walls felt like they were closing in. She wanted to shout, to refuse, to walk away from this man. But the stakes weren't just hers anymore. All right, she said, through gritted teeth. I'm in. Just tell me what to do. He leaned forward, satisfaction gleaming in his eyes. Good. We'll start tonight. You'll access the files after hours. Just a little taste of the information we require. But what if someone sees me? The words slipped out before she could stop them. Then you'll figure out how to make them not see you, won't you? His voice dripped with disdain. Jenna's heart sank. She was standing on the precipice, staring into the abyss. What had she just committed to? The desire to protect her daughter wrapped itself around her throat like a noose. As her boss whipped out a folder and slid it across the desk, Jenna felt the weight of her choice settle heavily on her shoulders. Inside the folder lay the secrets that would change everything. The moment had come. She had crossed an invisible line. Tonight, Jenna. We'll see just how far you're willing to go. Her heart raced, terror and thrill entwined within her. In a world filled with shadows, was it too late to turn back? As she left the office, the folder clutched tightly to her chest, Jenna knew that the line between right and wrong had blurred. She still needed to protect Lucy, but at what cost? And deep down, in the pit of her stomach, a chilling question began to form: how far truly was she willing to go for those she loved? Jenna's fingers trembled as she gripped the folder, a cold weight pressing against her chest. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glare on everything they touched. She pushed her way out of the office, the walls feeling like they were inching in on her with each step. She stepped into the underground parking garage, her heart racing. Dread gnawed at her stomach. The lights flickered ominously, echoing in the vast emptiness. Alone in the eerie stillness, Jenna felt as if eyes were watching her from every dark corner. She could almost hear whispers, taunting her with the implications of her decision. A sudden clang resonated through the silence. Jenna jumped, her breath hitching. Was it just the wind, or something more sinister? She shook her head, dismissing her paranoia, and hurried towards her car. As she approached, she noticed a figure standing next to it, a shadow in a tailored suit that looked familiar but unwelcome. Mr. Collins? What are you doing here? Her voice quivered, confusion mixing with apprehension. Waiting for you, Jenna, he said, his voice smooth like silk, but with an edge of steel. He leaned against the vehicle casually, yet there was nothing casual about this encounter. I saw you leaving the office. You should be careful, you know. The water can be quite deep where you're waiting. What do you want? She felt a surge of anger, but fear kept it close to the surface. Just a friendly warning, he said, stepping closer. You got mixed up in something dangerous. Your boss, he doesn't play fair. I've seen it happen before. A woman like you, strong but naive, thinking she can navigate these waters without getting bitten. His words sent chills racing down her spine, and she instinctively looked around for help. The parking garage felt like a trap, the air thickening with dread. Stay away from me, Jenna snapped, trying to project strength she didn't feel. Is that how you talk to someone trying to keep you safe? His smile was unsettling. I might be able to help you. Those files are a gateway to things you don't want in your life. Do you really think your boss cares about you? You're just a pawn to him. I can take care of myself, she replied, forcing her voice to steady. I'm doing this for my daughter. Ah, Lucy. Sweet name. He licked his lips, a glint of something sinister in his eyes. You know, if things go south, it's not just you who will be affected. You want to keep her safe? You need to be smarter than that. With each word, Jenna's heart sank deeper. The stakes escalated, spiraling into a nightmare. She had to act fast but not recklessly. Trusting a man who thrived in shadows felt like stepping into quicksand. What are you saying? What do you know? Enough, he replied, the smile vanishing. You've got to decide where your loyalty lies. And you should choose wisely, Jenna. Tonight could change everything, but only if you're ready to fight. Jenna's pulse thrummed in her ears as anxiety surged. His presence was unwelcome, but his information could be crucial. I can't talk here. She took a step back, glancing toward the security exit. Meet me somewhere else. Think about it. While you make your little plans, the clock is ticking, he warned, turning away. And remember, everyone is watching. Choose your allies wisely. As he disappeared into the shadows, Jenna felt the weight of uncertainty wrap around her like a shroud. Panic and fear mingled within her, creating an urgent need to protect Lucy. No matter the path she had to take, she climbed into her car, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her mind raced with plot twists and betrayals, knowing she was dancing on the edge of a knife. Tonight, the files, the confrontation, the unknown adversaries. How far would she go to guarantee Lucy's safety? The engine roared to life, but all she could hear was the tightening coil of desperation in her chest. It was a long drive ahead, and dread clung to her like a mist. What secrets would the files reveal? What danger was lurking in the dark? And as she left the parking garage behind, a single, chilling thought pierced through her fear. Was it too late to turn back? The city flickered past as Jenna navigated the streets, her stomach a tight knot of anxiety. Each red light felt like an eternity, like time stretching out just to torment her. She couldn't shake the image of Mr. Collins from her mind. His words echoed a warning or a threat? It was hard to tell. She needed to regroup, to think clearly. Jenna turned onto a side street and parked in a dimly lit lot behind an old diner that hadn't seen a lot of customers lately. Even the neon sign sputtered weakly, dimming the already murky atmosphere. The smell of grease wafted through the cracked windows, a stark contrast to her racing thoughts. As she sat there, staring at the folder on her passenger seat, the weight of her decision bore down heavily. She had stumbled upon a corruption scandal within her company, documents implicating higher-ups in a web of deceit. She thought she could take it to HR, but Collins's warning made her doubt everything. Was her intention to expose the truth noble, or was she stepping into a trap? Picking up the folder, Jenna opened it. Her fingers skimmed the page, heart racing as blood pooled in her ears. Each detail felt more incriminating than the last. She had to protect Lucy, that was all that mattered. A sudden panic rose, and she slammed the folder closed. What if the very thing she sought to protect was now the target? Suddenly, a shadow crossed her rearview mirror. Jenna's breath caught as she turned to see two figures approaching her car. Their silhouettes were distorted in the dim light, and they moved with purpose. She fumbled for her keys, preparing to start the engine, but the men were already at her window, their faces masked with dark hats pulled low. Jenna Richards? One of them barked, his tone low and menacing. She instinctively locked the doors, glancing around for help. Open the door. Go away. She shouted, her pulse thundering. They didn't flinch. Instead, they exchanged a glance that sent a jolt of fear coursing through her. Were they sent by Collins? Or was this the consequence of digging too deep? Listen, the man continued, lowering his voice while tapping lightly against the glass. We don't want to hurt you. We just need to have a chat. Jenna shook her head, heart hammering wildly. The world outside felt unreal, as if it were closing in on her. I don't have anything to say to you. Think carefully, the second man said, his voice smooth yet threatening. You're in a deep hole. We can help you, but you need to cooperate. Cooperate. The word filled her with disgust. She was not going to be intimidated. Taking a deep breath, she fumbled with her phone, desperately considering her options, and then she remembered Lucy. Images of her daughter's bright smile flooded her mind. This wasn't just her fight, it was for Lucy's future. If these men were threatening her, she couldn't let them control her. Reaching for the gearshift, she revved the engine while keeping her eyes on them. I'm calling the police, she declared defiantly. The men exchanged uneasy glances, and just as she hit the call button, a flash of light flooded around them. A pair of headlights appeared from behind, cutting through the fog of tension. A car pulled in beside hers, blocking the intruder's path. It was a police cruiser. Before Jenna could even process how fortunate she was, the two men turned on their heels and bolted down the alley, disappearing into the shadows. Jenna's heart was still racing as she rolled down her window. The officer approached, concern etched on her face. Are you all right, miss? She nodded, feeling the dampness of sweat on her forehead. But even as relief washed over her, a question surfaced. Who were those men, really? And what did they know? The officer's voice pulled her back. You look shaken. Do you need assistance? Just I need to talk to someone, Jenna stammered, glancing back at the dark alley. I think I'm in danger. As the officer listened, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that the danger was far from over. The shadows held secrets, and she was about to dive deeper than ever before. What would happen when she finally met with Collins again? Would she be ready for the fight ahead, or was she already in over her head? Jenna could hardly hear the officer's reassuring words over the chaotic pounding of her heart. Under the muted lights of the dim diner parking lot, her world felt unsteady, the creeping shadows hiding danger that was all too real. Every second spent in that car felt like a countdown to something terrible. "Miss?" The officer's voice clicked into focus. "Can you tell me what happened?" Jenna took a deep breath, trying to calm the tempest swirling inside her. I think my life is in danger. Those men, they were asking about my company. They wanted to talk, but it sounded threatening. The officer frowned, shifting her weight as she scanned the area. "Did you get a look at them? Any identifying features?" "No. Just their hats," Jenna stammered. "I don't know anything else. I didn't even want to see them." The officer nodded, scribbling notes. "Okay, let us get you back to safety. We'll check the area. But you need to reach out to your superiors about this. Whoever they are, they're clearly looking for information." Just as she was about to shrug off the officer's advice, a low rumble pierced the evening stillness. They both turned toward the source of the sound, and Jenna's stomach dropped as she saw the flickering headlights of several vehicles approaching. The light reflected off the sleek, dark silhouettes, too ominous to be mere public transport. "Get inside the cruiser," the officer commanded, panic flaring in her eyes. Jenna didn't need to be told twice. She scrambled into the back seat as the officer hopped in the front, heart racing anew. "Lock the doors," the officer ordered, her voice firm and steady. Before Jenna could react, the vehicle stopped. One driver, a broad-shouldered man wearing a black leather jacket, turned and shot a look toward them, his expression unreadable. Another figure leaned out the passenger window, shouting something Jenna couldn't quite understand. Just as she focused her eyes on them, the ominous faces disappeared into the darkness, like phantoms slipping away. "What do they want?" Jenna whisper-shouted, her voice trembling. "Why are they here?" "I don't know," the officer said, gripping the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white. "But we need to move. Fast." Without hesitation, the officer tore out of the lot, tires screeching against asphalt. Jenna braced herself against the seat, the adrenaline coursing through her veins like an electric shock. Her mind raced, reconstructing the words of the men from before and searching for meanings buried within their threats. The police cruiser sped through a maze of streets, lights flashing, but even the sirens felt like a whisper against the growing tension. As they turned onto a main road, Jenna couldn't help but glance back through the rear window. The shadows remained, strangely watching, like a storm gathering itself to strike. "Where are we going?" Jenna asked, uncertainty creeping into her voice. The officer didn't respond immediately, keeping her focus on the road ahead. "We're heading to a substation where you can explain everything in detail," she finally replied, the edge of urgency sharp in her tone. Jenna wanted to believe her, but doubt stung at her. What if they were already too far into it? The men didn't just vanish. They were still out there. Maybe Collins was involved. He knew too much, had seen too much. An idea crossed Jenna's mind, and she squeezed her eyes shut. Suddenly, a dark blue sedan swerved beside them, cutting off their path. The officer cursed under her breath, flooring the accelerator to dodge it as another car pulled up behind them, blocking any escape routes. "Hold on!" the officer shouted, maneuvering through the narrow gaps of traffic. Jenna's heart sank. It was chaos. They were surrounded, with a frenzied rush, the enormous weight of her circumstances pressed down on her chest. Was she risking the safety of her daughter by pursuing the truth? As tension coiled tighter around them, Jenna knew one thing for certain: the darkness was on the move, and she was caught in the rush of it. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, Jenna spotted a figure. Standing on the sidewalk, a black trench coat swirling around them. The unmistakable glint of recognition shot through her. It was Collins. Why was he here? What did he want? With the walls closing in, Jenna felt time slipping away. What secrets lay hidden behind that facade, and was she ready to uncover the truth, no matter the cost? The engine roared in protest as the officer veered hard to the left, tires skidding dangerously close to the curb. Panic carved deep lines on the officer's face, her resolve shattering under the weight of their escalating situation. Every turn felt like a lifeline, but the tightening grip of the ominous vehicles filled Jenna with dread. "Are they following us?" Jenna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just keep your head down." "I've got this," the officer replied, shooting a quick glance at Jenna through the rearview mirror. Desperation clawed at her. The officer didn't seem so certain anymore. Jenna's heart thundered as she ducked low in her seat, the reality of their predicament sinking deeper into her bones. She could feel the warm rush of adrenaline painting her fingertips. The blue sedan loomed closer, relentless and predatory, as if it were a wolf stalking its prey. Whereas Collins? The thought sliced through her mind like a bolt of lightning. Did he even realize what was happening? Did he care? The memories of their conversations, the cryptic warnings he'd given, had they all been leading to this moment? The officer's eyes darted toward the side mirror. "They're gaining on us." Before Jenna could reply, the cruiser jolted violently, filled with the metallic clang of the fender scraping against the side of the sedan that had now forced them into an alley. The officer gritted her teeth, maneuvers growing frantic as she tried to regain control. "Hang on." As the car veered once more, Jenna caught a glimpse of Collins striking a dramatic pose on the sidewalk, his trenchcoat billowing around him like a dark cloud. "What are you doing?" she screamed, frustrated that he seemed to stand there casually, seemingly unfazed by the chaos unraveling in front of him. But then he raised his hand, revealing a glinting object, a smartphone? A camera? An unmistakable sign of involvement. Was he here to help or exacerbate the situation? "Turn! Turn!" Jenna shouted. The officer slammed down on the accelerator, barreling onto a side street. Just as they broke free from the alley, Jenna risked another glance back. The sedan followed close behind, jockeying for position. Every second felt like a lifetime, and beneath the pit of her stomach lay the gnawing thought that Collins could either save her or seal her fate. "We have to stop them." Fear enveloped Jenna like a suffocating blanket. Her breaths came in shallow bursts. What if they're after something worse than me? "Focus!" The officer snapped, nudging an icy gaze toward Jenna. "If they want you, they'll find a way. We need to get to safety first. That is our only priority right now." But before the officer could shift the car back into a full-speed getaway, the sedan surged forward. Slamming into the rear passenger side, the force sent Jenna careening sideways, her frenzied gasp drowned out by the screeching metal. The officer struggled against the sudden impact while trying to restore order to the steering wheel. In that split second, Jenna locked eyes with Collins. A fleeting moment of connection sparkled through the air between them, but just as quickly, he dodged from sight like a shadow crossing the moonlight. The cruiser swerved dangerously close to a curb, abandoning any pretense of control. Jenna felt the encroaching darkness, closing in at every turn. "We can't keep running forever." The words exploded from her lips like shrapnel, desperate for action, for answers. The officer grunted, her strength waning. "Then we need a plan." A sudden thought surged through Jenna, igniting her instincts. "Take me to the substation." She blurted out. "I can help." But before the officer could respond, they turned a corner, and Jenna's blood ran cold. A roadblock loomed ahead, officers lined up with drawn weapons. The trap had been set. "Brace yourself!" the officer shouted, as their cruiser barreled into the waiting jaws of fate. What would happen next? Would they be caught in the trap, or could Jenna find a way to turn the tides once more? In the shifting shadows around her, Jenna sensed it. Wouldn't he end here? The truth lay beyond the blockade waiting, taunting her. With her heart pounding fiercely, Jenna prepared for the looming confrontation. What secrets would she uncover once they finally confronted this danger head-on? The world outside the cruiser melted into a blur of colors and noise, a distorted echo of panic as they hurtled toward the blockade. Jenna's grip on the seat tightened, her palms damp with fear. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her chest, each heartbeat thundering in her ears, drowning out the chaos surrounding them. As they approached the roadblock, the sharp bark of orders filled the air, piercing through her fog of anxiety. The officer's knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. "Jenna, if we make it through this, you need to trust me no matter what, okay? Just follow my lead." The words spilled from her lips, instinct taking over as she scanned for any possible escape route. She could see the officers in their tactical gear, the glimmer of badges catching the sunlight, and it sent a shiver down her spine. They weren't here to help, they were a wall intended to stop them, to cage her like a wild animal. The cruiser careened closer, and a shot rang out, the sharp crack reverberating through the air. "Get down!" The officer barked, but Jenna had already reacted, ducking as low as she could. She didn't know where the bullet had come from. All she knew was the adrenaline surging through her veins made every nerve tingling with urgency. "We need to turn. We can't go through them," she hollered, panic spilling over. "Hold on." The officer yanked the wheel hard, sending them into a sharp fishtail that spun the natural world around her like dizzying whirlpool. The rear tire screeched against asphalt, but they found themselves miraculously heading away from the roadblock. Jenna pulled her head up slightly to see the tactical unit, eyes wide, mouths agape, as they regrouped to pursue. A moment of clarity struck her. If she could just reach Collins, he may have the information to save them from this chaos. "We have to find Collins. He can help." "Are you insane? We just need to get out of here." The officer shot back, stealing her focus on the road, determination flashing across her face. Beneath the rushing terror, a morsel of resolve sparked in Jenna. "No. If he has what we need, we can turn this around. Stop fighting it." And just then, a glimmer of hope caught her eye. The street ahead opened into a crowded market, people bustling about, completely unaware of the violent storm swirling just steps from their calm reality. "Follow the crowd," Jenna urged, pointing towards the chaos of bodies. They 1T shoot into a crowd. "We can lose them there." The officer hesitated, weighing the risks, eyes darting back at the incoming squad like a ticking clock. With a decisive nod, she veered sharply into the throng of people. The atmosphere shifted as the cruiser swallowed itself into the market. Jenna squinted through the windshield, searching for a familiar figure, hoping against hope. Every encounter, every moment spent with Collins flooded her mind. He wasn't just a former colleague, he was their lifeline. Where could he be? Her heart raced as she saw the group of patrons part, a small doorway in a brick wall leading deeper into a surprisingly silent cafe. "There!" She indicated, desperation fueling her voice, but the officer shook her head, eyes trained on the side mirror. "No. Not there. They LLC us. I don't care. We have to try." Jenna felt her voice rise, a mixture of fear and resolve spiraling in her chest. The cruiser rolled to a stop just outside the door. The officer, with reluctant compliance, allowed Jenna to leap out into the fray, dodging people. Jenna barely noticed the shock and confusion on their faces as she sprinted toward the entrance. Behind her, she heard the officer yelling, pleading for her to return. She burst through the door, eyes scanning urgently for Collins. The small cafe held a comforting aroma that contrasted sharply with the dread bubbling just outside. "Collins!" Jenna shouted, breathless and frantic. She didn't care if she drew attention, she needed him. Just as she rounded a corner, she caught sight of him. His back faced her, fingers tapping fiercely on a keyboard, oblivious to the chaos unraveling. Outside the threshold, and that S when she noticed it, the screen blaring with ominous information. This is not what it seems, Jenna thought, frozen in her pursuit. The truth dawning made her heart sink. Time slowed as she processed the flickering images on the screen, each slide revealing more than she wished to see. A chilling realization clawed at her, a connection forming, spiraling into deeper horror. Was Collins part of this? With the pounding of her heart echoing in her ears, she could only stand there, each breath a silent scream as she prepared to confront him. What had he been hiding all along? The door creaked open again, and Jenna's pulse quickened as unfamiliar silhouettes stepped into the cafe. They were here. Jenna stood on the precipice of something bigger than herself. Would she unravel the threads, or would they all come crashing down before she could find out the truth? Jenna's heart raced as she locked eyes with Collins. His fingers stilled on the keyboard, and a smirk twisted across his lips. he was no longer the slightly aloof colleague she once knew. He was an enigma shrouded in shadows, his past entwined with the very danger she'd been trying to escape. "Jenna," he said casually, as if they were catching up over coffee, "you shouldn't be here." "Why not?" She shot back, anger piercing through her fear. "What's happening? You've been playing both sides, haven't you?" His expression hardened, the amusement vanished. "You really shouldn't get involved in things you don't understand." He gestured toward the screen behind him, revealing documents and intel that screamed corruption, names, dates, and figures rolled across the display in a stark, dismal spectacle. "Is this why they were chasing you?" She stammered, feeling her throat constrict. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You don't know what you're in the middle of, Jenna. There are parties who won't stop until they get what they want." From behind her, the door swung open once more, and the shadows moved ominously. The figures from the parking lot spilled in, masks covering their faces, eyes fixed on Jenna and Collins. The time for words had evaporated. "Get down!" Collins barked, and Jenna dropped instinctively to the floor. Heart-thundering gunfire erupted, shattering the silence of the cafe, bullets ricocheting against the walls, deafening and chaotic. Jenna pressed her palms against her ears, the noise overwhelming, while she crawled behind the counter, adrenaline flooding her body. Collins dug beside her, and they huddled together, the world outside bursting into chaos. "We need to leave," Jenna screamed, panic clawing at her throat. "The back exits." Collins nodded tersely, and her heart sank. What if he was leading her into another trap? He didn't give her a chance to think twice. He gripped her wrist and pulled her toward the back of the cafe. Jenna's mind was spinning, torn between instinct and the need to protect Lucy. She thought of her daughter, innocent and blissfully unaware of the danger lurking just outside. This madness couldn't be part of the plan. What about the files? She protested, glancing back at the chaos. "They're no use to you if you're dead." He shouted over the din, urgency stamped across his face. With a quick burst of movement, Collins kicked open the door leading to the kitchen. The smell of burnt grease mingled with fear as they darted through the cramped space. As Jenna entered the alleyway, the cold air bit into her skin, but the fear coursing through her drove her onward. "Stay close," Collins urged, leading her through a narrow path where the night loomed heavy with silence. Each step echoed against the bricks, amplifying the pounding of her heart. Suddenly, Jenna halted. "Wait." "What?" Collins spun round, eyes flashing with impatience. "Why should I trust you?" she demanded, fear and desperation intertwining in her voice. "You could have led me into a trap." His brows furrowed, vulnerability flickering in his eyes for the briefest moment. "Because I'm trying to help you. We're running out of time, and I don't want you to end up like the last assistant." The name hit her like a hammer, and she felt a sick tightening in her stomach. What had happened to that woman? The answer escaped her throat, buried beneath fear. And Lucy? What will happen if they come after her? "I swear, if I could protect her, I would." He gripped her shoulders, his gaze intense. "We need to act now before it's too late. We'll find a way to shield her from this chaos. But you have to trust me." Before she could answer, the back alley filled with the sound of heavy footsteps and frantic shouting. "There they are!" shouted one of the masked figures. Jenna felt her blood run cold. They were closing in fast. "Go!" Collins pushed her forward, adrenaline surging through both of them as they fled. They turned a sharp corner, sprinting down an empty street lined with flickering lights. "Where now?" she gasped, lungs burning from the effort. "We can't keep running." He scanned their surroundings and spotted a parked car, its doors ajar. "In there!" In an instant, they dove into the rear seat, and Collins slammed the door shut, fumbling for the keys in his pocket. Jenna's pulse raced, but she felt a flicker of hope. "Drive! Just drive!" The engine roared to life, tires screeching against the asphalt as they tore away. But as they sped down the road, Jenna's mind whirled with uncertainty. What now? Collins cast her a sidelong glance, darkness dancing in his eyes. now we show them we're not afraid. We turn this into our advantage, and we expose everything. Jenna felt the flicker of trepidation, a dark path laying out before her. Are you ready for that? We may not make it back. I have to be, he replied, a determined look overwhelming his features. For you. For Lucy. In that moment, feeling the weight of all they carried, Jenna understood. No matter how deep the darkness swirled around them, she'd fight to protect her daughter and unravel the twisted web threatening to engulf them both. Setting her jaw, Jenna nodded. Let us do this. With a surge of newfound resolve, she tightened her grip on the edge of the seat, the adrenaline of the chase mixing with the hope of what lay ahead. Whatever awaited them on the road, they'd face it together, but as they dove deeper into the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that each choice could lead them closer to salvation or doom. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to see you flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how it all ends.